Welcome back, South Philly Sauce and Audacy Original, brought to you by 94 WIP and Jack Daniels. I'm Morganti, Ashlyn, Sullivan, here with you as the Flyers have a couple days break after going against Minnesota on home ice, and looking forward to a busy stretch, a challenging stretch, that's for sure, Al, as we look at this past game and you look at the effort in Minnesota, and it was encouraging for sure, but then you look at that third period and that was not encouraging.
Yeah, they had a good effort. Minnesota played a real good game. Minnesota's a surprise to me that they've been this good for this long. A lot of teams get hot for a little while early and then tail off. They had a bit of a dip, but they played a real strong game. And for the Flyers to go in there, they were going to have to play an almost perfect road game and get excellent goaltending, which I thought they got good goaltending. It's just right now, Minnesota is just a better side. And the Flyers made a couple of mistakes, and it cost them. And let's face it, Minnesota, I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury in goal was remarkable for a guy playing in his 1,600th game, whatever it was, some outrageous number. And it was they got a better goaltending, and their stars, Kaprizov in particular, just made ridiculous shots.
Yeah, Kaprizov was really impressive, that's for sure. We talked about him our whole pregame show, and rightfully so. And it always seems like when that happens, he always does really well. So maybe we should stop.
Well, then we shouldn't talk about them in the pregame. We should just talk about the Flyers.
Oh, yeah, we have to mention it because this is what happens when you do it. He was that good from Minnesota, and as a whole, just a lot of impactful players. And you look at the mistakes that were made in that game, and there were a couple, especially in the defensive structure. Zamula was one of them. He gets back into the lineup a couple games here where he was not in the games for a good bit with Emil Andre. And really, when you look at Zamula or Emil, both guys make mistakes, I think, in different ways. But Zamula is one where Torts just wants to see him play faster. And you're at the point where you just don't know if that's in his game, if he has that capability.
Yeah, Zamula made a bad mistake on a 4-on-4, didn't cover somebody coming off the wall. But more important than that to me was, is stressed, as you said, play faster. So generally, move your feet or whatever. What really the bothersome thing to me with him was he had 2 shots blocked. Now, guys get shots blocked, but when you get a shot blocked and it's close distance, it can quickly go the other way. So in each of the instances where he got shots blocked that kind of went the other way, he didn't take that shot very quickly. He waited to take the shot, and that I think was a problem. It's a real interesting thing with him and Andre. I mean, for most of us watching, me included, I watch Andre's game and think he pushes the play. He's smaller, so he gets trucked occasionally, but he seems to be a more impactful player. So there's something that the coaching staff is seeing here with Zamula in the long game here, that his game has something more, certainly than I'm seeing from time to time. I mean, in a power play from time to time I watch, and he does use both sides of the ice. He sees the ice in front of him pretty well. And sometimes it's just a matter of aesthetics, I guess, the way they look. A smaller player, Andre, moves quickly, goes up the ice, leads the play, and Zamula's more, just kind of feeling his way through, trying to look ahead to the play. Sometimes it looks like you're moving a lot slower when you're bigger than the guy that's just got wheels and just flying up a little guy. So I don't know how this is going to all end up. I mean, there's so many little inner competitions with the Flyers right now in terms of depth chart or whatever. But I'm certainly keeping my eye on what happens and how much ice time Zamula gets, how much ice time Andre gets.
Yeah, it is interesting, Al, because I like your honesty there that you aren't seeing what everyone, the coaching staff is seeing. It seems like a pretty clear-cut decision between Emil Andre and Zamula that Emil Andre seems to be making much more impactful plays on the ice, and his upside just seems much higher. I understand that you don't want to send Zamula down. You want to see, and he's got to play. But at some point, I think with these two guys, you're going to have to decide, because at some point, I think you're going to hurt the other guy that's sitting, because these are two players that can't be sitting for too long.
Yeah, but that position gets injuries all the time, and I think ultimately, this is in the media or as a fan, you play checkers, and the management team's playing chess. So if you're the management team and you're thinking ahead 2 steps, and you're thinking to yourself, well, maybe this Ristolainen ends up being traded, he goes to Ottawa or Winnipeg, wherever he goes, if that happens, it's like, what do we do then? Who's the right-hand shot here? Who's going to play there? What do we need? Who can fill in? So where we're seeing one step, sometimes they're looking at two steps to see exactly, or can we even afford to do that? Can we move a guy like Riston? Do we have the people coming up that can really fill in and take that spot? So there might be some of that going on, but I do know I'm interacting with fans a lot. They're like, this is crazy. This Andre's playing so much better. Well, why? And it's like, well, in the first place, there is the eye test thing, and it's almost like Kolosov in goal looks like he's doing a whole lot more because he's so athletic, flying around, and sometimes the guy that doesn't do all of that is actually more in position to do things and more conventional in the way they do things. And we did see from Zamula last year, however, he did have an ability from the point to see things pretty well on a power play that was really struggling. From time to time, he was the lone bright spot, and Lord knows it wasn't that bright anyway.
Yeah, that is very true when you put it that way. If they are going to trade Rasmus Ristolainen, you have to know what you have. You have to know if it's even an option. And it's interesting. I mean, last year we knew when they traded Sean Walker, it was going to be a massive drop-off. And it was, but that was the point that the organization was in, that they had to do something like that. I'm curious, this is a pretty similar situation, not to that extent, but I'm curious if they would do the same thing knowing it would be a major drop-off.
I don't know that they would. This is a strange spot for them to be in. They're playing, I think, playing to their capabilities. They've gotten everything you could have expected from Michkov coming in. The goaltending is better than I thought, with a couple of backups holding the fort while Ayerson was out. I think, and this is going to sound really, really odd, but the fact that teams like Buffalo, Detroit, even the Rangers, Ottawa, aren't doing what they were supposed to do, the Flyers might be in a playoff race far longer than they might have anticipated. Because everybody anticipated Jersey was going to be that much better, so there goes that spot. Boston's going to be okay, but the Rangers have been awful. Ottawa's finally looks like they might have turned it around, but they can make a U-turn real quick. They're going on like a 10-game road trip at Christmas, some crazy road trip through Christmas. Buffalo's a disaster again. Detroit, who you're going to see, everybody thought, well, is this the year they finally, they reach their potential? So if it's not, the Flyers were never in a tank mode. You can't be with Tortorella. But I'm wondering if they're going to be in such a spot by next month and then even deeper that they're going to say, well, we got to make a run now. We for the development of the players, sometimes it's better to just get in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, at that point, do you risk trading a piece like a Rasmus Ristolainen? It's the same exact situation that they were in last year, but last year was such a pleasant surprise where I don't think this year is near as much of a surprise. A bit of a surprise, though, I will say, is the up and down of Cam York as of late. When he came back healthy, he was supposed to be this impact player. It was supposed to be solidifying the defense, and that's when you really thought this team will take off because it was a lot of ins and outs of Cam York, and then Nick Seeler was out for a good bit. It was like, all right, once this D is back, then it's going to be smooth sailing. And it really hasn't been, at least for Cam York as of late.
Yeah, he had a tough game in Minnesota. The one particularly looks like he lost a man in coverage. But beyond that, he hasn't, before the injury looked like it might happen, it looked like he was going to be, I always thought, a good number 2 defenseman or a top 4 pick, no question about it. A lead team leader, a guy that go in tough situations. And there has been some unevenness to his play, where he hasn't that performance level doesn't, I hoped would keep going up to the point where it's like, no question about it. He's just a lock solid guy we can throw out there at any time. It might just be a case of coming back and being a little bit wary of things coming in, trying to get up to speed. And it's been a weird schedule, but to be honest, I expected him to be more impactful. I did come back and get the goal in one game, but I do still think by the end of this year, he's going to be a guy that when you're in trouble, he's a guy you can look to. I mean, Sanheim's the man, obviously, but then I think York shouldn't be that far behind from what I saw last year to what I expected to happen this year.
Right, and it's definitely the year that you want to see him make that step. And I think the biggest highlight people are talking about in that Minnesota game is, I mean, and it's all about how you look at it, for sure. Matvei Michkov definitely making a bit of a mistake. You can call it a save. You can call it, not playing it too safe, trying to tap it in. You could have said Travis Konechny would have missed the net anyway. And it all really depends at the angle you look at, because it would tell a different story. But I think as a whole, this was not the plan Michkov had.
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has seen it by now. It's like the Konechny shot's going to go in, and Michkov gets a blade of his stick on it, and it doesn't go in. It's a save by Michkov. So I guess you can look at it two ways. One is, that's stupid. It's
look at it that way.
Well, I mean, the puck, it's going in. And the other way to look at it is, this kid loves to score goals, and he says again he's going to go in. No, let's not take a chance here. The way Fleury's playing, let's not take a chance. He's going to swing around with the stick or whatever, and I'm going to get my stick on it. I don't think there's any question he shouldn't have put the. If he's going to do it, the stick should be further away, just in case it was going to go wide or whatever. But I don't. You never want to coach out of him. Mm-hmm. The killer instinct, as he calls it, cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded.
I mean, that's what he is. And if it takes a guy that just, I don't care wherever that puck, I am going to score goals. I don't care what happens. I'm going to make sure that puck gets past that goaltender. So I guess if you want to be real positive about it, you look at it that way. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if I'm, Konechny, he's not going to say anything. I mean, we know he's going to say anything there, but if it was Hartnell, he'd be all over him. Taking my goal away.
Yes, he would. That's for sure. He probably would still say that. It was something like you said something on TV and took it away from him. That's for sure. Yeah. I think TK knows big picture here. This is a guy that's going to make plays in the long run. And it's those learning lessons that we knew were going to happen with Michkov this season. Yeah.
Well, I don't even know with him if he'll ever. I don't know that that's unlearnable.
Yeah.
or learnable, one way or the other. I just think that's who he is. That's what you're going to have. You're going to have that guy. It's going to be why he's such a character in this league, and the just the desire to score. that's just there. I don't know that's something that you can do, that you even want to mess with that much. You talk about positioning. That's one thing. But killer instinct around the net, you might have to live with that. And I'm sure Konechny will, with the talent that Michkov is.
Yeah, and I think most Flyers fans would take living for that, that's for sure, in exchange for a couple of mistakes here and there as we look forward to the Flyers schedule coming up. And a couple national broadcasts for us. We're not actually back on air until this Saturday, but you have at Detroit, who the Flyers just faced a week ago, were able to beat 4-1. And then you have a home game against the Los Angeles Kings, and then a home game against Columbus. When you look at Detroit especially, it's definitely underwhelming, their season so far with the expectations. But with their talent, it's definitely not something where you're just going to assume you're going to beat them back-to-back in a week.
Yeah, you look at them, they have struggled, and they seem that they have so much talent. Their progress is kind of weird in terms of their rebuild. You think by now, with everything they've done, they'd be in a better spot. But they certainly have individual talents that you can't kind of sleep on. They can get you very quickly. And the worry for me is you're heading into Christmas. That's a back-to-back, which I haven't had for a while. Detroit, LA, national games. And then, you want to go into a break, that Christmas break, with any sort of a real downturn in your game. And that's why I think the Detroit game's pretty important to at least get that thing done, get that steadied out, and then we can go from there and come back and be a tough game, obviously, with the Kings. And this schedule, I mean, that's how we mentioned early in the year the NHL did them no favors with going out west, starting the season. And now, I mean, home away is really taxing. Sometimes it's better to be on at least a 3-game trip, just and then come home at 3 or whatever. But this, I mean, they're fortunate they had that kind of a couple of days off at home here, had their Christmas party this morning. I was over there. So at least they had that to come into. But this home away is really it's really problematic in terms of practice, which is why a couple of days here, which is probably why they're going to practice the day before they go to Detroit after practicing on Monday, just to kind of get things in order. But it's a real tough schedule, just in terms of the logistics of it, to go out, come back, go out, come back, go out, come back. It's been really strange, and it's all because some teams are going through it. That Four Nations tournament squished everything together.
Yeah.
But the Flyers have had the worst of it in terms of Eastern teams anyway.
Yeah, they have gotten no favors this year, that's for sure. But we'll see how they can handle it. They just beat this Detroit team pretty well, 4-1. So we'll see if they can handle it again. And that is Top Philly Sauce, an Audacy original, brought to you by 94 WAP. And Jack Daniels will be back later on this week to recap those games we just discussed. See you then.